A couple other things. Now, like I said, credit use. None of this stuff, like you see all my personal cards, I don't use these cards at all. Even for personal expenses, I put them on the business side and I just keep track. Okay, that wasn't a business expense. I can't write that off of my taxes. But the thing about personal credit is, again, once you use these cards, this percentage goes up, your score goes down. And another fact is that for all interest on the personal side, you can't even write it off. So let's say you are paying interest in on the business side, that's the only tax deductible thing. If it's personal credit card interest, it's not tax deductible. Um, so let's run back over here. So that is the high level there on sort of how it can be applied. I'm sort of going to go through like all the actual advantage of business funding, but I just want to take a second. Does anyone have any questions? I know this is a lot of information. Matt, do you have any questions? Are you seeing any questions in the chat that I can answer?
Um, well, do you want to save? I don't know exactly how many slides you have for sure. Do you want
Yeah.
to save the questions to the end? That's
Yeah,
what I
we can.
typically do. And if
Yeah.
you don't want to do it that way, we can answer questions now. Lori just came up with a question, so it's up to you if you want to answer it
I'll,
or.
I'll answer that and I'll keep going. Yeah, I know I get excited and I kind of talk fast about this stuff. So I want to make sure I give it context because and I want to make sure guys that I'm providing solutions to problems you guys actually have. I could be talking about all this stuff and your whole group's like, yeah, we're all have so much cash. This is not useful for me. So Lori said, your credit age is 6 years, 9 months. It's fair. What is a good credit age? Excellent credit age. When I refinance a loan, it started the credit age over. So, Lori, I would say, and I don't say this to brag or flex, I'll jump over here. So, I have gotten access to more business funding than literally anyone I've ever met in my life. So, it's not affecting me that much in terms of the age of my credit. Um, and there's a lot of other things that other business funders will say is you want to have a virtual address, you want to use authorized users. A lot of that stuff is baloney, and I'll get there. But I would say in terms of my age, yeah, I'm 31 years old. I'm a little bit younger. It's fair, but as long as your credit age is greater than 2.5, 3 years, you will be fine. Now, in terms of your age, how you can increase your age, let's go there for a second. Maybe there's a couple people on here with younger credit age. There is something called an authorized user where you can add them onto your credit, and it will increase your credit age. For example, and again, for all my real estate people, we actually have so let's say so I'll go myself first. So credit age. So I actually approached my father, and this is when I was first building out my credit. And I'm like, hey dad, you're obviously older than me. Can you add me to your credit card? I don't want to have access to it. I don't ship it to me. I just want to inherit your age. So I was able to get a 20-year card and a 17-year card that immediately added a bunch of years onto my credit. Now, personally, that Discover, that is my first card that I actually have. These are simply authorized users. Now, who you don't want to do an authorized user with is Amex because American Express will report your age from the time that you get it. So let's say you go as an authorized user on Amex, it will say your credit age is 1 month old. Every other card, you'll get 20 years, you'll get 17 years. Now you might be thinking, oh, I don't know anyone with good credit. I don't know anyone that has an old credit card. We actually have, let's say it's a short-term fix. Let's say you're about to refinance or you're about to buy a house. You just want your credit score as high as possible. We actually sell authorized users in our chat. And it's not just again, we're very, very in this game. It's not like authorizedtradelines.com. It's literally, it's actually crazy. We had a guy who joined our inner circle and he was like, yeah, he was an Asian guy. He was like, me and all my family, we all went to law school in the early 2000s, didn't have a lot of money, put our sort of our college journey on credit cards. And that was 20 years ago. Now we have all these old accounts that are sort of sitting around. Can I sell them to you? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So in our inner circle, we have a guy it's a lawyer out of Houston. He's got like 60, 70 cards that you can just buy to add on to your credit. Of course, there's a fee associated with it, but he's an individual guy that I trust. Again, that can be you can inherit some of his cards and add them onto your credit to increase your age. So, Lori, I hope that answered your question. Now, another thing, guys. Let's say, and I'm trying to make this information as applicable as possible. Let's say you rent, like I rent, for example, and you're trying to build out your credit. You can actually add all your rent payments onto your credit report. Okay, and how you guys can leverage this. Let's say you guys have a tenant that, oh, I can't move out because my credit stinks or whatever, or you just want to give them an advantage to pay their credit, to pay their rent on time. Hey, pay your rent on time. I will make sure I report all your credit. I will make sure I report. Hang on, give me 2 seconds, guys. Give me 2 seconds. Hang on. Just someone at my door.
Hey guys, let's while he's tied up for a second, is this stuff pretty awesome? You guys happy with this? Go into the chat real quick. Tell me what you think, because I tell you, I was very, very impressed
Oh,
by
God.
everything that Evan was doing. So
Sorry.
so
Oh
Evan,
well, we're
they're
we're
not.
about to get we're I'm about to drop some gems right now. This is like the laying the foundation. It's about to get really exciting for a lot of you guys. I promise that. I promise you that. But sorry, what I was saying is, let's say you have a tenant, oh, I can't pay, or you want to give them a motivation as much as possible. Hey, make your payments on time. I'll make sure I help you get that reported onto your credit report. That way they're building credit. Or vice versa. Let's say you're a tenant, you're renting. You can also report that onto your credit to make sure that builds out your credit, which again, something I haven't talked about, that is 10% of your credit score is sorry, is agent diversity right here.
Mhm.
Okay. Matt, you found the hidden gold mine. Thank you, Sissy Treat. Let's go. And also, by the way, guys, I always say for everyone that is listening to me, working with me, look me up online. Look at the podcast. We've been doing this for a long time. Bunch of 5-star reviews. There's just like a bunch of people like coming out of nowhere. They're like, "Yeah, I can help you with business funding." They don't have the relationships. They don't know the people. But I would say do your diligence. Talk to everybody. But this is my favorite part. This is really like the real value proposition. So sharpen your pencils, lock in here. This is cool. This is really good stuff. So, okay. Now the sort of the why business credit, why business funding, if it's not abundantly clear yet, let's run through some of this. So, like I've already talked about, number one, it doesn't affect or report to your personal side. So again, with personal credit cards, as you know, if you utilize that card with your real estate flips, your utilization goes up, your score goes down. With business funding, everything I'm doing is on the business side. Okay? So again, you'll see back to the credit score, I have a couple flips going on right now. I manage a I got logged out. I manage a about a 60-person company, a lot of cash flow coming and going that doesn't affect my personal credit at all. One little precaution here I will say is you'll see this little dip right here. I dropped 10 points, right? But over the last year, 826 at my highest, 816 at my lowest. So what you're paying for is consistency, or what you're learning here is consistency. A lot of people's credit score, I see it's like up and down because they max out a card to fix a flip, and then they pay it down, and they max it out to do something else. Everything is on the business side at 0%, so it's not going to show up on the personal side. However, teaching moment here, I am also an authorized user on one of my mom's credit cards. And if you're an authorized user on one of their cards and they max out their card and you're an authorized user, that can negatively affect you. My mom maxed out her Capital One a couple months ago to like buy a grill. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Because as a result, it dropped my score like 10 points, which main scheme of things doesn't matter. But I'm like, Mom, I'm teaching on this stuff. It looks really bad. So she paid off her card and my score went back up. So doesn't report utilization. All the limits on the business side are 3 times higher than the personal side. So let's say your highest personal limit is $10,000. Your business limits will probably be in like the $30,000 range. And again, just to be transparent and give you, oh, look at 8 more notifications. Let's see some more deletions, guys. Oh, these are just a bunch of notifications. Okay. Um, but let's go to the approval side. So you can sort of see, again, I want to give you like an idea of what the typical approvals are looking like. Let me just find this approval chat. Oh man.
What system is this that you're in here? Is this
This
Notion
this
or
is Slack.
Slack? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just being the owner of the company, I'm on far too many channels. But this is to give you an idea of typically what they're looking like. 10,000, 14,000, 15,000, and this is all 0%, by the way.
This is just
27,000.
this is just right now, right?
Yeah, this
Today,
was
yesterday.
yesterday. This was
Yep.
today. But keep in mind, yesterday was a bank holiday, so it was a little bit slower. So we did about $200,000 of approvals just yesterday on a bank holiday, which is you know, no,
Pretty
they weren't
awesome.
even open. And this one's crazy. These are crazy. This is Elon Financial. We work with them a lot. They do 0% for 18 months. So I always like to say the bank is a person. So like that's like me going to Matt and being like, hey man, I'm gonna borrow some money from you. You don't have to pay me back. Or Matt, the deal that Matt's making to me if he's the lender is, yeah, you don't have to pay me back until July of 2027. That's how bad the banks want to work with you, right? I would say
Pretty
that the
awesome.
bank is a person. But this is sort of the one that gets me the most excited because it's the most it's just crazy. So I went through you can remove the inquiries, higher limits, rewards and cash back, right? So and again, just another sidebar. So you can fly for free. I haven't paid for a flight since COVID because let's say you're using the money on the renovations, that gets added into points. And there's a guy in my inner circle who teaches every Monday on how to transfer the flights here, how to transfer the points here to maximize the points. I just see the points in my on my account and I use them and I don't pay for flights. But there is a way to maximize it even more that is available, but free flights, you'll never pay for a flight. So if you fly more than one time a year, this is completely in your best interest. Um, but let me go back over here. This thing right here, ability to balance transfer to other 0% business credit cards. And I really want you guys to understand this point. So if you're like a guy that works with us, and let's say you got $32,000 from Chase, or you got $45,000 from Chase, I want to put that in perspective for you guys. So, and this is truly what I do. Like I'm talking about my own business credit profile. So remember, I told you in the beginning of this call that I got access to $15,000 from Chase, right? And this old rusty card, right? Um, $50,000 from Chase, the bank is a person. If I borrow money from Matt and I'm like, hey man, let me borrow $15,000 and I borrow from him and I pay him back and I make my obligations and everything's okay, he will probably more likely in the future, if I'm like, hey, let me have $30,000, he will let me borrow it, right? It's the same thing with a bank, right? So I first borrowed $15,000 with Chase, and this was before I was aware of credit. It was $15,000 on the business side. So I can remember thinking, oh my God, like there's must be an error. It's not showing up my personal credit. This is insane. I can actually use this money. So again, I maxed it out. $15,000. I was a real estate agent at the time, maxed it out to $15,000 and it sat for like that for a year. And at the end of that year, I paid it down to zero. Okay. So I went back to Chase. I was getting a little bit more familiar with banking. I was like, hey, I'd like to borrow $30,000. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I borrowed $30,000. Now here's the kicker. The previous card, that is no longer at 0%. Okay, that is no longer at 0%. It's like 15 or 20%. So I don't use that card anymore. I don't want to use 15 to 20% money. I don't, it's not, doesn't interest me. So I transferred the limit from this card to the next card. So the previous card, I don't use it anymore. The next card, I have $30,000 at 0%. I transfer that limit from the previous card. So 30 plus 15, I now have $45,000 at 0%. Okay? I now have $45,000 for a year for free. Again, max out the card, spend it on renovations, spend it on this, spend it on that. And I don't care that the card is maxed out because it's on the business side. Okay? So it's sitting there for a year, $45,000 for free. At the end of the year, and the way it sort of happened is it's right around, I've always gotten these cards right around January, and it's a 12 month at 0%. So by the end of the year, I know I have to pay it off. So right around Christmas, again, $45,000, I pay it down to zero. Okay. I then go back to Chase. Hey, I'd like to borrow some more money. This brings me to last year. I borrowed $25,000 at 0%. Okay. But what did I do? Because now that previous card is useless to me because I've ran through the 0% promo period, I transfer that $45,000 to the next card. So now I have $70,000 for a year for free. Okay.
So you're
I'm just,
transferring, you're
yeah,
transferring not the balance, but the limit.
the limit.
Yes,
Exactly. Exactly.
everybody catch that. He didn't put the 25 grand, he didn't spend the 25 grand. He moved the limit to the 0% card. So now he has 0% for the whole amount for this previous card and his new card.
Correct. And where I'm currently at now in the year of 2026, I have a new card coming in the mail. This is the old $75,000 at 0%. I transfer the limit to the next card. Now for this year, I have $115,000 for a year for free.
That's
And
pretty sweet.
I just keep rolling it down the road, you know? And that's how I've truly gotten to $1.5 million is that, let me see if I can find a screenshot of all the approvals. Is again, um, yeah, again, you'll see here. Oh, that's actually the wrong screenshot. Let me find a screenshot. Yeah, this should do it. You'll see here these limits, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, because I've moved the limits all down to this card, and this screenshot's about a month old. So again, you're building a relationship with these banks.
Mm.
And again, you'll sort of see towards the bottom, it's not a perfect unison, is that when I first started, 2023, 10,000, 25, 30,000, pretty good approvals. But now I'm sort of in like a level four where you'll notice the approvals are a lot bigger, 70, 100, 100, 100. So because I've built a relationship with these banks, okay? So that's
Mm.
really the value is you'll have access is when you get that first approval, you're like setting the precedent. So the next year you can go back and you don't even need me at that point. You've already built a relationship. You can go back to them and get 25,000 and people are like, "Okay, how do you transfer the limit?" You call the number on the back of the card and some Scottish virtual assistant I spoke to yesterday said, "Yeah, sure, mate. Sure, let's move it on over. Just give me a 5-star review." So that's really the beauty of it. And maybe there's some people watching this call and you're like, "Oh man, like I got a 0% interest card and my renovation took a little bit longer or this took a little bit longer and I ran through the promo period." There's a solution for that as well. So you can actually balance transfer as well. So what I'm doing is limit transferring, and I know this can get confusing. So limit transferring is transferring the limit of the card, but you can also balance transfer. So Elon Financial, what they offer is, let's say you have a card that you ran through the promo period and now you're paying 30% interest. We can actually balance transfer. We can get you a $50,000 approval, and that credit card, you can write a check off that credit card. I think the fee is like 2%, and that credit card can pay off your balance on that other card. So a lot of my job, honestly, guys, is sort of playing like financial Jenga of moving the money around to where, okay, this is expired on the business side. Let's get you business funding at 0%. So we at least prolong you on 0%. Okay, you've debt on the personal side. Well, you still qualify for a personal loan. Let's do that because the term is a lot longer. And, let's say you have high utilization on the personal side. With that, it's a 1-year term and the rate is 25%. Well, a personal loan is a 5-year term and the rate is 8%. And the utilization doesn't hurt you. So let's move that over to a personal loan. Let's pay down your personal credit card debt, and then we can refinance that with a 0% business card. So it's really sort of, just sort of finding your situations and seeing how we can work with you guys. Um, Now we're gonna keep going. Oh shoot, we only have 10 minutes.
No, but by
Um,
no. By the way,
yeah.
there's no hard stop. I mean, if
Hmm.
people at 11, I typically go to an hour and 15. But if you go over, it doesn't matter. People can bounce out when they want, if they
Okay.
choose to. But we do record this, so everybody here will have access to even the recording if they do have an appointment or something they have to miss.
Cool. Guys, put a one in the chat if that was helpful. I haven't had breakfast yet, so that'll be my breakfast. I'll eat once for breakfast. One. Okay, cool. Awesome. I know it would be guessed, but approximate amount of 0% funding I could get based on my criteria: 820, 840 score, 4 personal credit cards, no bounces. Yeah, Sean, I mean, you are killing it for sure. You are killing it. But and again, if I was just some normal guy or some other business funder, I'd be like, yeah, we can get you $250,000. This is what makes me different. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I mean, again, like I really invest in my business. I really, really, you know, I'm all in on this, and I'll tell you what I mean. Again, I will show you what I mean, and I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here. So, I mean, from the person who said that was Sean. I mean, you have a great credit score. You're crushing. But this is sort of the difference with business funding, with business credit. It is unsecured, meaning that with a mortgage, if you don't pay, they can foreclose in the house. With real estate, obviously they can foreclose on it. With a car, if you don't pay, they can repossess. This is something that I pay over $3,000 a month for. I think I sort of impressed Matt when I showed him his credit report. And again, I'm gonna pull up my own report, so I'm not incriminating anybody. But this is essentially everything about you. Your height, your weight, I was able to pull up all the boats that Matt owned, any car you've owned, any time you've ever been tax delinquent. And by the way, you guys are learning from an incredible guy. Matt's got a squeaky clean record. Anytime you've ever gotten a speeding ticket, anyone you've ever been associated with, any address you've ever been connected to. And why this matters is because there's a guy I follow all the time. His name is Matt Cox. He's a guy. He's a criminal commentator. There's a lot of people right now that are, believe it or not, stealing the identities of homeless people and taking out credit cards in their name, right? But they're probably getting very small limits because of LexisNexis. LexisNexis, it's here. It is a collection of data, and their whole thing is to verify that you are who you say you are. They're looking at the banking risk. The only people that have access to this are banks, private investigators, and civilians who've gone through a 12-month process of interviewing and talking to different people and getting their credentials, which is me, right? So I'll give you an example. I'll pull up my own credit report so you can sort of see what that looks like. Because again, this stuff, oh, I gotta update my primary phone number. Okay, 518. Let me just do this quick. Okay, save. Um, oh my, look at that. I'm a user in this, and it's like asking me for all these verifications. Let me just jump
That's
over
how
here
that
quick.
always works out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Sorry. But again, and I want you guys, I want to be clear. Anyone who works with us gets access to your own. Um, But again, I'm showing this to you for a reason. I guess I'll give you an example. We had a guy come to us like a Sean like figure. He had a great credit score, an 820, 830, and he got denied from other funding. And he came to us, and about 50% of other people that work with us have come from their funding company. And I couldn't figure it out either because he had a great credit score. And his name was what was it? I think his name was Sean. No, he wasn't that. Sean is who I'm talking about. His name was Justin, and I couldn't figure it out either. So I got his information. I looked him up. I'm like, Justin, who's Cedric? Who's Cedric? He's like, oh, that's my ex-business partner. He died 5 years ago. I'm like, okay, well, on the it says that Cedric is the owner of your company. So do you think the
Mm.
bank is going to give funding to a dead person? They are not, right? They are not. And we're able to fix his LexisNexis, change his address, redo the data sources, and he was able to get like $150,000 at 0%. So like, I will pull up my own so you can sort of see what this looks like, right? So this is one of my LLCs, Smart Links business report. And this is stuff that you truly in this life is like everyone can have everything. If I want a Lambo, I can go rent one. If I want to get on a yacht, I can rent one. The blue check on Instagram, everyone has it now. But like this information is very important that you guys have so you can actually see how the bank sees you, right? So, like, for example, business evidence, low risk, meaning that there's a low risk that I'm a fraudulent person, right? Why is that? I have a high source of documents. I have an established business. I have recent business activity. Business risk. This is more the economics of the business, okay? So there's something called the NAICS code. For example, if you made your LLC and you said, I'm a real estate developer, that's going to put you at a high risk business risk because real estate is seen as high risk. And again, LexisNexis doesn't make this data up. It is a collection of data sources. So, for example, they got my information from I bought a property under this LLC. They got it from my Experian business data. They got it from Real Properties. They got it from other directories. They got it from Experian itself. So it's like a collection of data that it's getting from other sources that creates it's sort of a syndication that creates which is again like this report right here is the difference of you getting $100,000 or you getting $0. Because let's say you have the wrong address on here, or you have the wrong NAICS code on here, or your annual revenue is incorrect, right? A lot of this stuff really, really matters because this is what the bank looks like. This is what the bank looks at. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
So that is the high level there. Okay. And I'm sure we'll revisit that. Um, and I'm going to offer because they usually don't go that in depth, but I can tell the people on this call are rather sophisticated. I'm going to regret saying this, but I'll say anyone that works with us, we will give you your for free. Which, to be honest, I'm the only one who has, so it's just a lot of work for me. But we will make sure we get you your. Um, but yeah, so back over here. So sort of the 6 steps to get you ready for funding. We're going to optimize your personal credit. That's removing previous addresses, removing inquiries, all that stuff. Make sure your LLC is compliant. We've had people, come from other funding companies that got denied because They didn't pay their $9 biannual renewal fee. You know, we want to make sure your business information is correct and congruent. Build a strategic plan before the applications. Build a relationship with the right banks, and then apply. Now, let's take another example. Again, like you might think, okay, why do we exist? And I hope I've shown you why, the value that we sort of present. When you go into a bank, I guess I'll go a little story about this guy. The way this guy Larry, I always think of him. I worked with him probably a year and a half ago. I was still taking sales calls at that time, and he was super excited. He was going to work with us, and he at the last minute he's like, I got to talk to my wife or the tooth fairy or whatever. He couldn't. We didn't end up working together, and he came back to me like a month later, and he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm like, all right, Lair, let's go, man. And I go to onboard him. I collect all his documents, and I see he has an inquiry from TD Bank, and I know I could have got him $100,000 from TD Bank, but he went directly. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
it's all good. And I'm like, hey, man, did you go to TD Bank directly? He's like, yeah, I did. I was impatient. I'm like, yeah, man, like now I really can't help you. Like the toothpaste is out of the tube. Um, because like if he went, he's probably saying all the wrong things, met with the wrong tellers, didn't have the right relationships. Like if we go back to that bank, it's like a completely different thing. It's a completely different story. That's like if I borrow again, the bank is a person. If I borrow money from Matt, I asked money for him a month ago, and I come back a month later, completely different story and narrative. It's like, what are you talking about? What happened to last month? Because everything you do is on a recorded line. Okay.
Yeah, one thing
Um,
I want to mention,
yeah.
guys, one thing I want to mention about that, I'm pretty good at this stuff too. I've gotten a lot of unsecured credit over the years. And,
Mm, said
one thing
that.
I will mention, one question I asked Evan when we were talking the first time is I said, do you have specific relationships at these banks? Because the stuff you're showing me is not normal. And he said, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's using that special relationship to be able to do things that you wouldn't or I wouldn't be able to do by ourselves.
No, truly, man. I mean, and it even goes even further on that point. Thank you for bringing that up, Matt. Is that I have been doing this for a while, and people know we do good business. It's not just my relationship with you guys; it's my relationship with the bank, with the relationship managers. If I'm submitting a bunch of applications and in 6 months there's a bunch of defaults, guess what? That relationship manager isn't going to work with me very long. They know I put everyone through the LexisNexis. They know that, and again, you have to think from a banking perspective. They're paid, that $200-300 for each application. They are paid on usage on that card. So there are a lot of business funders out there, but again, they're not going the extra mile like this. They're not removing the inquiries. They're not going pulling your LexisNexis. So I was fortunate enough to I sort of have a group now that works along with me that I met about a year and a half ago, and this guy was actually my relationship manager, and I just met him I ran back into him at a party, and I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, and this is before I knew who I knew I was talking to, and I'm like, he was like, yeah, I used to be a relationship manager at Chase, and his application said, or his name said RJ. And I'm like, dude, by any chance is your name Ratanjit? He's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, dude, you were my relationship manager. So that was years ago. Now, sort of, we have a culmination of people where I had met his business partner a couple months ago, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm at this bank now. Where do you want me to work next?" He will meet all the relationship managers at that bank, meet everyone he needs to meet, and then go to the next bank. And I sort of work with him directly as a liaison of, hey, submit this application here. Hey, this lending requirement just changed. So I have sort of fresh data points every single day. As an example. Chase Bank. I know I'm talking heavy on Chase Bank right now. Just that's what's top of mind. It used to be, my clients would put $1,000 into the bank, and then a day later you could apply. Well, now they capped that to where you need to put $2,000 in the bank account, and you need to wait 5 days. If you just apply immediately, the max approval you can get is $20,000. But if you wait 3 days, the max approval you can get is $75,000. So there's
Mm.
those small little things that like they set up, those sort of honeypots that they set up to limit how much exposure you can get. And again, we have those data points. Um, and again, feel free to take a screenshot of this. I don't gatekeep. You know what? Let me get you the best screenshot
Well,
right here.
and
Yeah.
keep in mind they'll all have access to this recording as well.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
Cool.
so we
Cool.
keep these
Cool.
in the we keep these in the back office for everybody. So somebody could join the Deal Lab in 6 months and then come back to this 6 months in the past and see this and apply.
Damn. That's That's good stuff. That's good
Mhm.
stuff. Um, yeah, so that's the high level there. And again, uh, I know Matt just said you already have access to that. There was I was speaking in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and there was a guy walked up to me and he checked. He was like, "Yo, check this out." And again, I don't think this applies to most people in this chat because a lot of you guys are already in the four and the fives. But he was a level one at the time, and he set out as his phone background. So I'm sure you love your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your dog Fluffy, but if that's your background on your phone, you'll probably have a lot more success with this. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. So to answer your point, Matt, like how have I been able to get all this funding for myself and funding for my customers? And I do want you guys to know it's not just me and two virtual assistants on this call. It's a whole organization. We have about 55 employees, and it's all we do. It's a full-time company and organization. And again, like our job is simply to get you the most funding possible. And we do it with stuff like this. Like number one, I am verifiable. When you go into my this, which, right here, double green, which is great. And there's so many people online that are like, you know what, you want to opt out this. I'm like, that is literally the worst information you could ever give somebody. Why is that? Is when you opt, they can't verify they are a real human being. So you'll never get a dollar from a bank. Okay. Um, Experience small business. Again, my Experian business credit is built out the right way. I have the correct relationships built. Accounts are seasoned. Avoiding a UCC. So another thing is my goal is in total for myself to get $3 million of business funding. And again, all these data points and all this information is in my own school community that you guys have access to. But my goal is to get $3 million of funding. Now, how am I going to do that? You'll notice at the bottom here, $100,000, 100,000, 100,000. None of these are putting a UCC on me. Now, what is a UCC? It's the same thing as getting a mortgage. A UCC is like a lien against your LLC. But if you get up to a certain amount that you're being lended, you don't get it. Like for example, M&T, they give you a UCC after $250,000. Flagstar, they give you a UCC after $250,000. So what I'm doing is getting as much funding as possible without a UCC. And then when I go for that last approval, because it's like a mortgage, you can't have more than one UCC on your LLC. So my last approval will be that like $500,000. Um, so that's sort of the big picture there of, sort of how I'm able to do this. In addition, and I'm sort of wrapping up here, guys, but in addition, you need to have the correct EIN, the correct business address, the correct merchant account, the correct NAICS code. You have to have the right online presence and the right business bank account. Uh, number two, I sort of covered. I know all the people at the banks, so I sort of have that filter going for me. And another thing, just like a teaching moment, is that people always ask me, how do you know what banks are lending at the right time? You really just have to follow the headlines. Like I was gonna ask you guys, why did JP Morgan Chase start giving out so much money in 2022? It's because out of nowhere, Silicon Valley collapsed. Like they didn't predict that, and they got 90% of their deposits. So out of
Mm.
nowhere, they have billions and billions of dollars that just hit their books through consumer deposits. And it's like, oh my God, we have to lend this money out. To find these investment opportunities, it takes months of due diligence, stuff like that. With lending, they're like, okay, let's just print more credit cards. Let's print more business credit cards. Same with Flagstar. If you see in the news, Flagstar, they're reducing their exposure to rent stabilized New York City buildings. They took off $324 million off the table. So where's that money going to show up? They have to lend it out somewhere. They're now lending out through business lines of credit and business credit cards, which again, I've gotten access to $100,000 from Flagstar. So we really also know what banks are lending at the right time. Another one to look out for in 2026, Wells Fargo. They were actually under government sanctions for the last 7 years because their employees were artificially inflating numbers. Now they don't have those government shackles anymore. Those were released at the beginning of this year, so they're starting to lend a lot more aggressively. Bank of America, they're starting to lend a lot more aggressively because they're just tired of people eating their lunch and getting beat out by Chase and Flagstar. Um, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, banks are tightening up, blah blah blah." Like I used to listen to that stuff, and then I just started focus and put the tunnel vision on. I'm like, okay, anytime that I'm spending listening to those people, it's time I'm not growing my own business and helping my customers get access to money. So that's sort of the high level there. I think you sort of now have the understanding of the full system, but implementing it can take 4 to 12 months.